Respiration in animals, human respiratory system. Different animals have different organs for respiration, that is, for the uptake of oxygen from the environment, whether air or water, and for giving out carbon dioxide produced into the environment. First, we'll see respiration in aquatic animals. Aquatic animals like fish take up oxygen dissolved in water. Since the amount of oxygen dissolved in water is very less compared to the amount in air, the rate of breathing in aquatic animals is much faster than in terrestrial animals. This is because aquatic animals need to take up more oxygen per minute so as to fulfill the oxygen demand of the body. Respiration in fish. In fish, there are gills as organs of breathing, as you can see in the picture. The fish breathes by taking in water from the mouth and passing it over the gills. The gills extract dissolved oxygen from this water. The extracted oxygen is absorbed by the blood and carried to all parts of the body. The carbon dioxide produced by respiration in the cells of the body is brought back by blood into the gills for expelling into the surrounding water. Now, let us know about the structure of respiratory organs in animals. The respiratory organs of all animals have a structure that increases the surface area which is in contact with the oxygen-rich environment so that the exchange of gases, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide, can take place faster across this surface. This surface is very fine and delicate in all organisms. So this surface is usually placed inside the body for protection. So to carry air to these surfaces and also to take the air out of this area, there are passages and respiratory mechanisms. We will now study the human respiratory system in detail with the help of the figure in front of you. The figure shows the various organs of the human respiratory system, which are as follows: nostril, nasal passage, pharynx, larynx, trachea, lungs, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli, and diaphragm. Before we study the human respiratory system in detail, let's first know what is respiration, or that what happens in respiration. In respiration, the oxygen is taken in and it breaks down the food absorbed in the cells of the body to release energy. This energy is used for maintaining life. This process of release of energy from the breakdown of food is called respiration. This process of respiration occurs inside the cells. Carbon dioxide and water are the two byproducts of respiration. Now, the human respiratory system in detail. The lungs are the breathing organs in humans. The air enters into the body through the two holes in the nose called nostrils. The air then passes through nasal passage or nasal cavity. This passage is lined by fine hairs and mucus. The fine hairs filter the air, and any dirt in the air adheres to this mucus, and so clean air goes inside. From the nasal passage, the air enters into the throat or the pharynx. The part of the throat between the mouth and the windpipe is called pharynx. From pharynx, the air goes into the windpipe or the trachea. The upper end of the trachea has a voice box called larynx. You can see these in the diagram. The trachea has rings of cartilage, as you can see in the diagram. Because of the presence of these rings of cartilage, the trachea does not collapse even when there is no air in it. The trachea runs down the neck and divides into two smaller tubes called bronchi. Singular is bronchus. The two bronchi are connected to the two lungs, one bronchus in each lung. Each bronchus divides in the lungs to form a large number of still smaller tubes called bronchioles. Please see in the diagram. Each bronchiole has tiny air sacs or balloon-like structures called alveoli at its end. Singular is alveolus. In the diagram, you can see an enlarged picture of alveoli. The walls of alveoli are very thin and they are surrounded by very thin blood capillaries. It is in the alveoli that the gaseous exchange takes place. There are millions of alveoli in each lung. The gaseous exchange takes place between the blood and the air, and the gases which are exchanged are obviously oxygen and carbon dioxide. There is a sheet of muscle called diaphragm just below the chest cavity which helps in breathing in and breathing out. When we breathe in, we lift our ribs, our diaphragm contracts and flattens and goes downwards. And so the chest cavity becomes larger to accommodate the expanded lungs and alveoli. When we breathe out, just the reverse happens. Now, how the exchange of gases occur in alveoli? The blood bringing carbon dioxide from the rest of the body releases carbon dioxide into the alveoli. Simultaneously, the oxygen in the alveoli is taken up by the blood to be transported to all the cells. When gases are exchanged, lungs always contain some air called the residual volume of air, so that there is sufficient time for oxygen to be absorbed and for carbon dioxide to be released. Now about hemoglobin, the respiratory pigment. If diffusion were to move oxygen in our body, it would take 3 years for a molecule of oxygen to reach our toes from our lungs. So diffusion pressure alone cannot take care of the transport of oxygen to all parts of the body. So there is a respiratory pigment called hemoglobin present in the red blood cells or the RBCs of the blood, which has a very high affinity for oxygen. So this red pigment carries oxygen to all parts of the body very efficiently. Carbon dioxide, on the other hand, is more soluble in water than oxygen is. So carbon dioxide is dissolved in the plasma of the blood and is carried by it. Hope the video was beneficial. Thanks for watching.